I've been contemplating architecture a lot, and I don't mean buildings. I don't mean the architecture or the design of structures, but more the architecture of systems of governance. This has been coming a lot across the different work that I do. It's coming up in the Food Indaba with relation to water and the food system and governance. It's coming up with it's the 30th of June today, so around Afrophobia, xenophobia, again, like the absolute lack of governance layers, especially this layer of the councillor. When you've got a grievance in the community that you live in, the first stop should be the local councillor. You raise it to the local councillor, and the local councillor raises it further. Where I stay, there's no town hall. I see no sign of a councillor. I don't know who the person is. Zero visibility. In fact, everywhere I've stayed for the last 20 years, zero evidence of a local councillor. So there's a layer of the architecture of governance which is missing, right? And then particularly within the tourism work, I have been dealing with agent clients who are asking questions around some of our offerings, and these questions are based on an understanding of a certain architecture, right? So within tourism, for example, if you're going to do a form of travel that is grounded in social justice, it's grounded in dialogue, it's grounded in engagements with people at the destination as opposed to only an engagement with sites and wildlife. The language and the architecture of the tourism industry as a whole is that these things are add-ons, right? So, like in South Africa, the context specifically was you do something in a township. And so you are looking for township so that you can go, oh yes, we've got that piece. Community engagement equals township. Never mind that Bishop's Court is full of communities, and Sea Point is full of communities, and Gugulethu is full of communities. And those communities, within those communities, are diverse. So it's very layered, right? But tourism reduces everything to a 30-second soundbite. It tends to. And so I've been trying to explain to some of these agents that what they are looking for is the architecture of what we do. It's not simply an add-on thing. Engaging with justice, it doesn't matter what the title is of the day that we're doing or the product that we've built into the series of days. If you're doing one of these things, justice is going to be a factor there. You don't even need to mention it. If you're doing something with us, then community engagement is the architecture. It's not, it's not necessary to kind of say, this is the community engagement piece, because it's the architecture. Everything is the architecture of what we do. All of these pinpoints, social justice and resilience and community development and stories from the bottom, all of these things, I've mentioned it. So let me leave it there. I think it's clear enough now. It's in the architecture. And so that kind of got me thinking a lot about architecture across all the spheres. And let me bring it back now to governance. Several months ago, there was this huge blowout with the Department of Arts and Culture and Sport around the Venice Biennale. And, from my point of view, the current Minister of Arts and Culture, Mackenzie, is doing exactly what he's mandated to do. His job is to fuck up, is to sabotage arts and culture, right? So it doesn't matter that South Africa has a great constitution and that actually arts and culture policy is very good. The execution of arts and culture policy is deliberately sabotaged. And the reason that it's sabotaged is because if arts and culture policy is executed in the way that it's supposed to, you end up with a citizenry that is very self-aware, that is confident, and therefore is going to really hold power to account. And the conspicuous absence of any well-manifested arts and culture policy, the manifestation, not the policy itself, and that's the disconnect in South Africa in particular. But this is not restricted to South Africa, this is a general thing. It's not in the interest of the powers that be to execute policy successfully, because that gives too much authority and power to the citizenry, right? So the job of the Arts and Culture Minister, I would say pretty much since Pallo Jordan in South Africa, has been to sabotage arts and culture. And we can see it, it's absolutely sabotaged, and we can see the effect. The 30th of June is a pretty good indicator. Where is our anger directed? It's directed externally. It's directed to people coming from elsewhere who we see as a threat. And of course, none of this anti-immigration rhetoric is aimed at anybody who is not black. White folk who are here illegally are not the subject of the vitriol of any of the movements or any of the people who are leading any of the movements, right? So arts and culture is sabotaged. And when I was thinking about the Mackenzie thing and I was writing about the whole situation, it also got me thinking about architecture within governance again. So, arts and culture, as it's constituted, is a department, and you can disregard the department, right? You can do the same with wellness, with sports and whatever. You simply disregard the department. But if arts and culture is an architecture that informs every department within government, with humanity, with organizational culture, if that happens, if it is the architecture, it becomes the operating system. And then when you are dealing with arts and culture as an output in schools, in the curriculum, in terms of doing arts and culture as something that happens throughout society, at all levels, with arts and culture centers and whatever else, that is a maintenance program like plumbing. Keeping your pipes in order is maintenance. So when these things that are so central to a thriving electorate are in the architecture of governance, as opposed to add-ons that can be taken out, then it's a maintenance program. It's making sure that you keep everything well-tuned and in order. And I've just been trying to get my head around how fundamentally different it is when these things are the architecture. And I see it for myself because that's the nature of the work that we do. It's the objectives are in the build. It's the project with Kurt that we're doing out in Opondweni, Vulizulu, which is something I'll speak about in another time in some depth. But that is a lodge, a luxury lodge, 22 rooms, built in a community where there's no CSI, because the project itself, the architecture of the lodge, is economic and community development. It's not an add-on to provide some integrity to the project. It is the nature of what the project is and how it is being constructed. It is the architecture. And I'm trying to think more, especially with regards to the Food Indaba at the moment, around architectures of governance. And what does it mean to have everything deeply embedded within the structure, within the architecture?